Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 174 of Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast. I'm one of your two co hosts, Tom Hunyadi. And you may know me from my other show, Talk More Talk, a solo Beatles video cast. I am joined by my partner in crime, my backwards traveler. He is Andy Nichols. Andy, my friend, what's going on?
Top of the morning to you, partner.
Top of the morning to you. Yeah, just waking up here. It's, you know, I wouldn't
Sunday
say it's
morning.
Sunday morning. Yeah, coming down, as Chris Christopherson once sang. But
Yeah, no, I'm doing good, hanging in there and enjoying my summer, fresh off of another concert. I've been on
yeah,
a whirlwind tour of concerts this summer. Just saw Jon Anderson the other night in New Jersey, and at 77, boy, let me tell you, he has continued. He has not stopped. He has not changed. He's playing with high school kids.
oh
Okay,
wow.
25 high school kids, and they're doing all classic Yes material. They did all of Close to the Edge. I mean, this guy's
Wow.
77. The songs are in the original key. It's incredible. It's
Okay.
absolutely incredible. And he,
Interesting.
he's so positive, and his outlook on life and how he carries himself and what he brings to the table as a musician. It's awesome. And to see young people play this complex music, it was absolutely incredible. This is not three chord bebopalula stuff. This is some complex material here. This is 18 minutes stuff that's like in weird time signatures and everything.
Wow.
So to see young kids playing it and loving it was an awesome experience. And just yeah, I'll always, whenever he's around, try to go see him if you are
Cool.
inclined.
All right. Well, we'll get back to that in 1 second. But today we've got a special guest with us today, and today's topic is pretty interesting because Andy, if you follow different forums and different pages on Facebook, you'll see quite a few people talk about how McCartney hasn't done anything good since the 70s. He hasn't done anything good since Tug of War or Flaming Pie even. And today we've got a special guest that kind of maybe fits in that mold a little bit, and we're going to talk about his experience.
Paul
With
McCartney sucks.
There you go. See, right
Ah,
there, right on the top of the show here. And we're going to talk about his experience and why he left McCartney, but then he came back, decades later, and we're going to discuss that. And he is very well known in the YouTube community. He's been doing this now for well over 10 years. His name is Larry Graves, but you know him as the Canadian Studmuffin. Larry, my friend, thank you for being here and joining us and talking about this maybe a little touchy subject here.
Yeah. I've been doing it for over 16 years, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
16. Isn't
I'm
that crazy?
tired.
You tired? But
wow.
we're gonna get back to that, you and your channel here in a second. But Andy, you've now, this is what, double digits in Jon Anderson now for you?
John Anderson and Yes combined, yeah, well
Yeah,
over 30.
well
Well
over
over
30.
well over 30 concerts since the late 90s there. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's just I don't think you've had an opportunity, right? You've never seen Yes,
No,
Tom, right?
no.
Yeah, it's it's a show for the hit. You get Roundabout, you get All Good People, you get Owner of a Lonely Heart, you
Mhm.
get classic Yes material. But yeah, but it to me, we've talked about it on other shows. To Yes for me is like number two after the Beatles
Mhm.
and solo material. So well, I've been blessed to have seen them here in America, overseas, traveled to see them. So yeah, they're just all of our artists, all of our favorites are approaching that age now, right? It's like
Right.
they're
Yeah.
either 80 or better. And Anderson, the fact that there's so many people still going strong at
Yeah.
this age is pretty remarkable. Anderson
Yeah.
77, Dylan's 81, McCartney's 80. I mean, it's Clapton. These guys are still touring, and the Stones. So we don't. How much longer do we have? So
Yeah. It's
whenever they come to town, whoever it is, you just try to go see them.
Yeah. And then you're going to see Gordon Lightfoot tonight.
Yeah, another guy. He's 80 something years old. So I'm going to see Gordon
Right.
Lightfoot tonight, and yeah. So and then Billy Joel next month.
Well, it's there's just still a big demand for these acts, to
There
to
is,
to see
and
live.
we've talked about this. How does the landscape change in the next 10 years when these guys
Right.
start to pass
Yeah.
away?
Right.
What happens to the touring landscape? We've talked about that
Mm.
on our show. So yeah, I enjoy going. I'll listen. Luckily, I live in an area where the artists come through a lot. So if they're in town and it's not, outrageously priced, I'll be there. And that's just how I've always rolled.
Yeah. No, that's great. Glad you had a chance to see him live again. You said he still sings in the same key. I mean, you sent me a video of him singing. He still sounds very good.
Yeah, he sounds great. He sounds great. And the fact that the official Yes is still touring without him is just, hysterical, because it's like, that to me is like the real Yes with Anderson. So it's just sad, but bands splinter up and do that thing. Styx has done that. So many bands have done that. Journey's done it.
Oh, yeah.
So
well, I think the Guess Who is still touring, and like Randy Bachman or Burden Cummings.
Right.
Oh, are they still with them or no?
No, and Burden Cummings. I follow his Facebook page, and he's really upset about the band. Like even on Spotify, you see the Guess Who, and it's all these new guys, right? There are no original members.
No,
right.
It's what's happening. It's so like, by what point do the band stop calling the band the name? I mean, Hackett. We saw Hackett in April when you were here, Tom, and he played like that's one guy. He doesn't call himself Genesis. It's just Steve Hackett doing Genesis stuff. It's perfect. Mm-hmm. That's really what it should be, in terms of, and I think in the case of Yes anyway. But
and it's funny too, because I just was looking at an article the other day where they were talking about this exact same thing. It's just, when is it not okay to, I mean, I guess, when is it okay, or when is it not okay for a band to continue with no original members and still continue to call themselves,
that name,
that name, you know what I mean? So, and what it all comes down to is, do you as a fan really care? I mean, do you really care that you're seeing a band that you loved growing up, but there's no original members in it? You know what I mean? If you're still enjoying the music, does it really matter?
But even if there are original members, for instance, Creedence Clearwater Revisited, right? The two original members without John Fogerty, they played locally here. I didn't want to see them.
Yeah. Why would you?
ELO is another great example. The other members of that band call themselves the Orchestra. They don't call themselves ELO. Right. It's just
and Grand Funk Railroad now without Mark Farner. No interest in them.
No, and a lot of it has to do with rights. Who owns the name to the name? Like I know that in the case of Yes, Steve Howe retains the rights to use that name, so that's why he can call himself Yes, because Squire and Alan White had it, and they both since passed away. So a lot of times, if there's one member in the band, he likely has legal right to use that name, whether it's the Guess Who or whoever, because if they couldn't legally do it, like Burton Cummings, and they could sue, but so there's some legal loophole that lets the band carry on using the name, and somebody has rights to use that name in the band, which is generally why it happens.
Right. Interesting. It's I guess it just depends on where you are as a fan. If you're just a casual fan,
you're gonna go.
And if you're gonna go see Kiss, I mean, you don't know that that's not like Peter Criss or Ace Frehley.
Some people think it's the original band.
Yeah,
right. Exactly. Hardcore people would know, but if I was to go to a Kiss show, I wouldn't know.
Right,
I would not know.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no, it's interesting. Definitely interesting. The whole idea, but again, like you said, I mean, if people are going, if enough people continue to go to these acts, as long as they know they're not going to see Steve Perry singing those Journey songs, and if they don't care, then why should these promoters stop promoting them, or stop bringing them to your area,
because there's enough of a draw of people to say, oh, right, that's Journey, exactly. Let's go.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
That's who's going.
I saw Chicago a couple times, and they're only down to like three original members now. That's it. But their singers besides Robert Lamb do well enough to
I'm sure they have really good musicians in all of the bands, right?
Right. Yeah.
Interesting, but that's the way of the world now. As these bands have broken up, people have sadly passed on, and this is what's left. So, you know, we have, as music nerds and junkies, we have to soak it up every way we can, right?
Yeah.
Whether
Right.
it's in whatever iteration it is.
Yeah, agreed. So, but let's get to our guest here. As I said, he is the Canadian Stuff Muffin. He just said 16 years as a YouTuber. Now, I want to ask you,
Congratulations.
yeah,
Thank you.
Wow.
starting off, did you know what you wanted to do as a
No.
YouTuber, or did you just gradually,
Yeah.
the channel is what it is because you just,
No
changed, or
plans.
no plans?
No. I wasn't. Everything just happened naturally. Like, I'm kind of known on YouTube, in certain
Yeah.
places, but
Mhm.
I never planned it. I've never wanted to be popular, or because it's not always fun. As I would definitely not want to be, like a star, like,
Mhm.
because I deal with enough of it on YouTube, right? Just
Right.
being kind of known, and it's not all
Right.
fun, right?
No, no,
Yeah.
especially, when you get the trolls and, some
Oh,
of those
yeah.
comments.
Well, it's not just that, but it's like people know you or think they know you,
Mhm.
but I don't know them,
Right.
right? And they
Yeah.
want to be, kind of friends and all that, and I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine. So a YouTuber, what, since 2006, 7? Wow, like was that
2006.
basically when YouTube, didn't that pretty much when YouTube launched shortly
Yeah,
before that, or right around that time?
yeah,
Right
it
around
was
that
before
time.
that, 2004, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, that was back in the days when it really was YouTube,
Right, and it wasn't Google
There's
owned. Right.
Right. Right.
no celebrities or anything. It was just regular
No.
people making videos, and there was no advertising.
Nope.
Nothing,
I remember
no.
those days. Yeah.
I've never done this for the money. Now I get paid, which is
Mhm.
nice, right? But it's not the reason I do.
Mhm.
No, I don't think anybody. And listen, I'm sure there's plenty of people that do it, but
I
people
know
like
people that do it just for the money.
Yeah.
right.
Oh,
People,
yeah,
people
absolutely.
like yourself, Tom, and I. We don't do it for the money. We do it because we enjoy it.
Right.
Wow.
So, I mean, obviously a lot has changed now. I mean, you can do it with your phone. And talk about those early years and how you, filmed it and promoted it and all of that stuff.
I don't even think I really promoted it. I just, I started just like everybody else when they start a channel. I'd have like 10 subscribers for, a few months, and just gradually through the years, it would, build on its own. And I don't think I even, back then wasn't even like Twitter or anything, or
Right.
Facebook. You just
No.
posted the videos, and
Mhm.
you were, if you got a comment, it was like you'd celebrate.
Hey, somebody said something.
Somebody watched my video. No, but even today, right? I see
Right.
some channels that even like that.
Mhm.
They don't get any comments, and
Right.
you feel sorry for them. But
Mhm.
I actually know one person that uploads a lot, and some of his videos get no views, but he acts like people are watching, right?
Right.
Well,
And he talks about his fans and everything. I said, "There's
Right.
nobody watching."
no.
Did you always have music in your early videos, or did you
No,
incorporate
no.
that later?
It was mainly comedy.
Maybe comedy. Okay, comedy.
Yeah.
Um,
I just slowly through the years, I started talking about music more, and
mhm. Yeah. And I mean, obviously people love music. They want to hear people's thoughts on that. And you just continue doing that. I love your music video when you talk about music, when you review a box set, or
yeah,
your does this album suck? videos.
yeah. I want to mention that
Yeah.
series because
Yeah.
with Paul McCartney in a minute. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Let's just talk about you as a Beatle fan. I mean, did you start off a Beatle fan, or did you start off a solo Beatles fan?
I was a Beatles fan, seeing them on the Ed Sullivan Show
You did. Okay.
live.
Wow.
Yes, I
See,
remember
this
that.
is yeah,
It's
this
one of
is
my first memories. Yeah.
awesome. This is great because you're living this, real time. And we can talk about this topic because again, seeing these fans that say certain things about Paul's career, But let's just talk about your thoughts. I mean, did you start getting Paul's music right as the solo career started,
Yeah.
and were you
Well,
getting these right as they were coming out?
I wouldn't say I was buying his records, because I was still 58, like 12 years old, so I didn't have the money,
Okay.
right? But one of
Okay.
my older brothers would buy the album or whatever, and so I'd hear it and I'd really enjoy it.
Mm,
Yeah. So I was always a fan.
okay. And then now getting older into the second half of the 70s, I mean, were you starting to buy your own?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Were
was
you? Were
getting
you?
into
Go
like
ahead.
Grand Funk Railroad,
Hmm.
Black Oak, Arkansas, Uriah Heep. These
Ah,
folks. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But
Very cool.
it's all based on the Beatles, right?
Right.
Because of all the genres that the Beatles did. Like they did basically everything, right?
Right.
From
Yep.
right up to like Revolution Number 9, right? Which I
Right.
actually like.
Hmm.
So I was really open to music.
Cool. Now, were you following all four of them, or are we just following one or
Um,
two? Or
yeah, yeah. I was buying the first couple of Ringo albums too. Yeah,
oh,
I really
okay.
liked it.
Yeah. Cool. What was standing out to about Paul that you enjoyed the most during these 70s? What was it you think about Paul's music that really struck a chord with you?
Well, first of all, he was a Beatle,
Hmm.
right?
right. First and
So that
foremost.
helped.
So that's right. That checks the box number one. Right.
But
Okay,
yeah,
he's a
right from
Beatles.
the
So
beginning, with Another Day and
Mm,
Oh Woman, Oh Why, which I think is one of his most underrated songs.
mm,
Right, the very start of his career, I loved it. There were
mm,
times like Wildlife. It was kind of, even his debut album, when it first came out, it was a bit,
right.
I guess, disappointing. It was, a bit of a shock because it was so raw
Right.
or whatever.
Mm,
But
right.
I enjoyed it all. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Cool. Was there any standout? What are some of the standout albums from Paul that you think throughout the 70s?
I would say London Town, although the very first time when I first bought it, me and my friend he was a big Paul McCartney fan too, but we were both disappointed in it because we wanted him to rock, like, Junior's Farm. And it was
Yeah.
just more of this typical Paul. But, after two or three more listens, I grew to absolutely love it. And it's one of my favorite albums of his. And then something like, it was good, but, there are certain albums that I like more than others. But everything
Yeah.
was still really good.
What was that album? We lost you for a second.
Back to the Egg.
Back to the yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of like I'm sure the album that people thought were hoping London Town
would
would
be.
maybe be. Yeah,
Yeah.
was a little bit
Yeah.
more rocking, especially after, Band on the Run, Venus and Mars. I mean, those are some pretty good, rocking
But,
albums. But
but
then go ahead.
But even some albums like Red Rose Speedway, I remember at the time it came out, my brother had it. And, I would be influenced by critics, like a lot of us would be. And it's
Yeah,
not a good album, right? And
right.
My Love at the time I thought was I love it now, but at the time was like another one of these lovey-dovey songs by Paul. So I never really listened to it. And then when the archive edition came out, I bought the double CD, I think it was, or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God, this is actually great. And I ended up buying the box set. And it's one of my favorites. Like,
Right.
yeah. Like Little Lamb Dragonfly. Just the title alone turned me off.
Right.
So I never listened to it.
Great song. All right, now Larry, the big $64,000 question: do you like the medley on
Yeah,
Red
I
Rose
love
Speedway?
it. I do. Yeah.
When
The guitar work on it. Yeah.
Hmm.
It works for me. Yeah.
just made my Sunday.
Yeah.
All right, so you're enjoying these. You especially enjoyed London Town. You enjoyed Back to the Egg. 1980 comes around. McCartney 2 hits. Was this something you listened to right away? Did you buy the album?
Yeah,
Did
I
you listen to
bought it.
the
And I would say I never fully got into it. The best thing about that was Paul doing the impersonation of Ron Mail of Sparks.
Right, Sparks. Yeah. I mean, I think the video came out before the album did.
Yeah.
I think
So
that's
you probably
probably a
would have seen
case
that
where
too.
the video actually helped push the album a little more
Yeah.
because of how cool the video was, right?
Yeah. I couldn't believe it the first time I saw the video, right? It's like,
Right.
he's Ron Mail of Sparks. It's like,
Yeah. Well, you're a huge Sparks fan, so you would have caught that right away.
Yeah.
Right. So talk about your fandom of Sparks there for a while, because obviously, I watching your channel, I know you love the documentary.
Yeah.
You're a fan of of that. I mean, if people don't know Sparks, tell them what Sparks is.
It's hard to. They've basically done everything, like dance kind of music, rock music, electronic based music. They've just done what I like about them. They're kind of like like Frank Zappa or whatever. They just do what they want to do.
Everything.
Right? Yeah, they do a bit of everything, and I think if anybody's curious about them, just watch the documentary, right? And
Right.
even if you do, like I say to people, even if you don't like any of the music, I think you'll still appreciate the documentary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't aware of Sparks for the longest time. And I'll be honest with you, I still haven't listened to their music. But Andy, were you aware of Sparks?
I was not aware of Sparks at all.
Mm. Yeah. Sorry.
And actually, the first time, well, I saw them in 1974 on the Midnight Special.
Okay.
And even looking at it now, 1974, seeing them and hearing them, it's a shock, right? Because it's so different. It's so weird. But I was so taken with them that the next day I went out and bought their album, Kimono My House. I played it and I threw it in the garbage. So that from then on, it's like, give an album another chance. And luckily I did, right? So that's one thing. If I don't like an album, I give it at least, 2 or 3 more listens before I throw it in the garbage.
Right. That's cool. I just wrote that down. I want to check that out. Sparks on Midnight Special.
Okay.
Yeah. See how I like it.
Well, I don't think there is any footage, but that same year, there's one where Keith Moon and Ringo Starr introduced them.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wasn't that where one of them goes up to the dressing rooms or something like that?
Yeah, there's a dressing room door. Yeah.
Door. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I kind of vaguely remember something like that. But getting back to Paul, McCartney too is such a big change of pace. Kind of almost like what people may have thought of London Town too, because here's such kind of like a folksy kind of record. Then you rock with Back to the Egg, and then all of a sudden, with McCartney too, it's a completely different pace.
I remember liking, like Temporary Secretary. I loved right away. But then, I don't know, back then I thought maybe some of it was amateurish or something.
Right.
I just didn't get it totally. But it's not like I disliked it. I live in an apartment building.
Well, I thought that might be one of the cats or something rustling. Anyways, but then the great album is, and it's funny because you stopped here. The Great Tug of War comes out. I mean, it gets praised to I mean, as high as an album has ever been praised for Paul.
Since Band on the Run.
Since Band on the Run, you got the #1 hit of Ebony and Ivory. The album is #1, very popular. You got Tribute to John, and Take It Away is a top 10 hit as well. But something with that album sounds like it just didn't click with you at the time.
No, I liked it, but I was listening to so many other bands by them that he wasn't my major go-to. And
Even though he was a Beatle, though he was a Beatle, you were starting to wane a little bit.
I was starting to. I stopped buying George Harrison albums and Ringo albums, and by then, and John albums, of course, I would buy still. But yeah, so that was the last one that I bought was.
All right. Now you gave a couple examples of music you were listening to in the 70s. Besides Sparks, then what was you starting to get to into the 80s that just, wiped away the
Elvis
Beatles?
the new wave, some of the Elvis Costello, Talking Heads. In the 80s, I was a huge U2 fan. They were like next to the Beatles. They were like the Beatles for me of the 80s and 90s. Then Lou Reed, Frank Zappa was big and still is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Frank Zappa. See, he's one person I've never been able to get into.
Yeah.
Frank
Same.
Zappa.
I've tried.
Yeah.
But I got to give it another try.
Yeah. But so Tug of War. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think a lot of times, I think, and Larry, I don't know if you agree, is that depending where you are in your life, certain genres of music are going to gravitate towards you. Yeah. Attitudes, tastes, all these things kind of happen to kind of maybe why you gravitate towards a certain genre of music, where depending on your age and where you are in one's life. I think that generally sometimes happens,
I think too that with Tug of War, it was too clean, I don't know, just nothing to, I was getting into like Ramones and heavier music sometimes, and so it just didn't do it for me. And a song like Ebony and Ivory, it's kind of, even now it's like I hate it and I love it.
I can understand that. I can definitely understand that. Right. And that's funny. And you bring up the thing too, is we talked about just like taking a break from certain artists. There's a great book called Beatleness by Candy Leonard. And she talks about this, how in 67, all of these fans, from 62, 64, they grow up with the Beatles, and all of a sudden
here comes weird,
here comes Strawberry Fields, here comes I Am the Walrus, and then all of a sudden they take what is known as a Beatle break, and then maybe the Monkey, they go to gravitate towards the Monkees and other more pop friendly Rascals or something
more typical top 40 type 40, stuff.
Exactly. So
bubblegummy,
bubblegummy, but that happens with a lot of artists. I mean, with a career like Paul, who's been going at it for over 60 years. I mean, there's bound to be a point in time throughout his career, or anyone's career that has lasted that long, whether it's Rod Stewart, Elton John, Eric Clapton, where you just say, okay, his music just isn't, what interested me when I first got into him. You know what I mean?
But if a fan feels that way, they still shouldn't disrespect the artist, right? And say whatever. Like, if you don't like what he's doing, I don't go on to Facebook and say he sucks now.
Yeah, you don't rant about it.
Right.
I respect artists more.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're not into it, you're not into it. You don't have to make a rant video and say, what's this person doing? I'm not into it. And what's he doing? You don't like it. You don't like it. That's it.
Yeah. But but Paul, when you look back on his whole career, he's been as experimental as any artist, right? He's done everything.
Everything. Every genre, experimental, classical, house, indie, pop, rock, dance hall, punk, everything.
Kisses on the Bottom.
Yeah.
Class. Yeah, absolutely. Standards, if that's what you want to call it.
Everything.
Yeah. It's interesting when you finally, when you hit this peak with a band and say, okay, I'm going to follow them, but maybe I won't see them live on this tour. I probably may not buy this album. So like for you now, after Tug of War, are you still, you might not be buying those albums, but you're aware of a new album. You're aware of, you hear a new song. I'm sure you say. I mean, what did you think of that song when you first heard? Because that was everywhere.
Yeah, it was a good pop song. I don't know. maybe a tad embarrassed by it too at the same time. You know, I was buying the Michael Jackson albums back then, though, like Thriller and Bad.
Right.
Yeah, so I think the Pipes of Peace video, you know, and then the album came out, is just, yeah, I'm not going to buy it. You know.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, you know, because I kind of had a little experience in a way where when grunge came out, you know, I jumped in head first, and then I was just getting that was like almost had all of my attention was, you know,
Yep.
Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, you know, Stone Temple Pilots. I mean, all of those bands. I mean, I was just gravitating towards them, listening to their music nonstop, and then everything else was just, you know, secondary. You know, in a way. I mean, I was aware of, you know, my other favorite band's music, like Paul's, but you know, and I was still buying it, but I just wasn't paying attention
Yeah.
to it, you know, as much as, you know. And Andy, you said you never really had a phase like that.
Not really. No, I never really did had a phase like that ever. You know, I only just expanded on what I already liked and just kept growing the artists that I liked. I never kind of put anybody to bed, as it were, for a while. I just would expand my palette of
Right.
artists and groups that I liked and just add to it and rotate it kind of in a seasonal type of way, a little, or, you know, whatever. You know, if a band or an artist goes on tour, you get yourself ramped up and you start listening to their catalog to get
Right.
yourself ready. And then they go away, somebody else comes out, you know, or the announcement of a new album comes out, you get geared up, right? You get fired up for it. So, Larry, so albums like you taught, like Pipes of Peace, though you said you didn't buy it.
No.
Is it an album that you've since listened to or got into?
I have everything by him now.
So you
because a year or two ago, I ranked all of his albums, and there were certain ones I didn't have. So I want to have the physical, you know, if I do a review and ranking. So I bought Pipes of Peace and Driving Rain and all the other ones. Yeah, and it still doesn't do anything for him.
Well, it's consistent.
One of my least favorite.
Yeah. But however you felt, you know, 30 years ago is more.
But I'm not going to go online and say it sucks.
No.
Right.
No.
Well, yeah. I mean, you didn't have this attitude where, well, okay, well, even though you like the certain time period better than the current time, you're still not one of those that are going to say, well, he hasn't done anything good since, you know, the 70s. He hasn't done anything good since, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just stopped buying his albums, so I wouldn't even really know.
Right. So decades later, there's a new album out called Memory Almost Full. And yeah, there it is. So what is it about that album that drew you back to McCartney?
The first thing that drew me was seeing his Dance Tonight video on YouTube. And it was so catchy. And the video was really well done. And I thought, you know, I'm gonna buy the album. And this is it. This is what I bought. I don't like the long form. I want to get like a regular one sometime. But so I bought this, really not, you know, expecting to become a big fan again. But right away, I loved it. And it's one of my favorites still. And then, you know, from that, I slowly got the rest of his albums
back catalog
over the years. Yeah. Like
Flowers,
Flaming Pie and everything.
Flaming Pie, Flowers in the Dirt, and all those.
Yeah, Flowers in the Dirt. See, that's another one when I had to buy, and it's one. And even though I'm a huge Elvis Costello fan, it's good, but it's not one of my favorites.
Interesting. You were also kind of like me in a way, but too, like you were also influenced by what critics were saying as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so like if an album got a bad review, you pretty much just didn't give it the time of day.
Well, look what happened with Ram, right?
Yeah.
Back in the 70s, it was like one of the worst albums, right? And now I think it's the first or second most popular McCartney album.
Yeah.
Deservedly.
Exactly, deservedly so. Right.
So you guys were influenced by reviews before you would listen. You would read and review. If somebody said
sometimes, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I would never ever put any stock in any critical review ever.
Yeah.
If you like
Well,
an artist, judge it on your own merits and then read a
right.
review.
Well, lesson learned.
Yeah, never. I would never pay any attention to any negative. I
Right.
would buy the out. See, my philosophy would be: if you like an artist, you buy it and listen to it, and then make your
But it wasn't just the critics. It was word of mouth from
Yes.
other
True.
people too.
Yes,
Sure.
yes.
Hey, this
Get
album.
influenced by that.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
circles of friends and stuff say this is good. or
Family
not good.
members. Yeah.
Yeah.
When family members knew that I was starting to get into, Beatles and solo music, they were able to point out to, certain albums like, okay, check these couple out first, but those ones really weren't really, but see, and that's the thing though, when you're younger and, you're influenced by, older relatives that that you really, respect and appreciate, their company and whatnot, you tend to, follow,
But
in their
they're not
footsteps.
always right because I mean
No,
they're
exactly.
not always
Right.
right. I mean I had
Right.
plenty of family members telling me
Yeah.
don't listen to anything Paul did after 1980, and I'm like, why not? Why not?
There's a couple of good songs in there.
Right.
No, but going back to Sparks for a minute, in the 70s, I had this best friend. He was a big Paul McCartney fan, but he hated Sparks, right?
Mhm.
Even though in 77 he bought one of their albums. But even today on Facebook, not that I'm best friends with him anymore or anything, I'll post something about Sparks and he'll leave a snide remark about them. It's like, all these years later.
Too funny. Let's go. Let's talk about some of these albums that you missed in real time. But
Yes.
before Memory Was Full came Chaos and Creation, which is again one of those albums that are critically acclaimed
Yeah.
by critics and
At the
fans
time,
alike.
like
I was
Yeah,
thinking
from release
I had
day.
great
From
reviews for that
yeah,
and Flaming Pie, but I still didn't budge. I didn't
yeah.
buy
What
it.
do you think was missing in his career?
what was
The-
missing?
you know,
What didn't those records have? Because Flaming Pie and
I
Chaos are
don't know. I
considered-
just got tired of him in the 80s with the thumbs up Paul and the cutesy, because I look back, that interview he did in I think 67 about LSD.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And he's so mature and serious. That's what I was missing, I guess, in the 80s. It was more,
Mm.
I wanted him to be more real like he is today.
Well, there's a lot of times there where Paul would just basically just be very,
Showbiz.
PR, show busy PR, and there were very
Yeah.
few times where the walls came down and he
Yeah.
actually spoke as frankly as you're talking about in that 67 interview. The Q
Yeah.
interview in 86 is an example where he was. I think the McCartney interview with Vic Garbarini is another one where he was
Opens up a little bit.
opens up a little bit before, because I could see where fans get turned off with the constant, this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even that Rick Rubin special, it was good. Nothing against it, but it's like, the stories being told, it's like we've heard them all. But I do understand there's always new people watching.
Yeah.
We've heard the yesterday story, Paul.
Yes. Yes. But again, we as hardcore fans, we forget why he's telling those stories, because there's always going to be a person out there that's hearing it for the first time. So we're stuck.
But an album like Chaos and Creation, it's my, along with Ram, it's my favorite album of his because the writing is so real, right?
Mhm.
And he's not looking for hits, He's
Nope.
past that. Even well, I guess he is still looking for hits now. But yeah, so it was just a more serious, like the real Paul McCartney is on that album.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair. I mean, it's here 15 years later or more than that album came out, and it still holds up. So.
And he's still writing great though. Like today, I mean, he's still, the For You song and all that, trying to get a hit, but overall, he's still doing great.
I as much as people like to diss on Linda and her singing abilities,
Yeah.
I tend to think that that's one thing that people miss about his music is her backing vocals.
Yeah.
And that's something that he really doesn't have a lot of with his later day albums after her passing
Yeah.
is a lot of those familiar backing vocals that's almost like comfort food in a way. You kind of almost expect her to pop up at any second with
Well,
with some
she was
backing
a big
vocals.
part of Ram with those
Yeah,
backing
absolutely.
vocals, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
nothing but
and
respect for her.
she's co-credited on it. It's the only album in the entire canon that's credited to Paul and Linda. So
So I'm for me, maybe I get a sense that maybe that's something that people miss in his music.
Mhm.
Besides maybe the more, it doesn't rock as much as it did in the 70s, maybe. I think maybe that could be
it's the
a
music of
factor.
it's a music of a mature elder statesman, like a grandfather of rock.
Right.
When you listen
He's
to
done a lot of rocking in his life.
right, so if you've got a guy who's singing, about like the end of the end or stuff more
Right.
mature themes on stuff like Chaos, it's
Mhm.
at that time was a guy in his 60s. I mean, what you want him to talk? Is he singing about Hi 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 still at age 64?
Why not? But I mean, that's not stopping other, rockers from rocking out. You know what I mean?
No,
There's
but
plenty of
his songwriting is evolved as he's
right,
aged
yeah. No, and I get it. I'm not
or
saying that this is
de-evolved
me.
if you're not a
Right.
fan.
Yeah, right. I'm not saying this is me. I'm saying that this
No,
is,
yeah. I got
what
you.
I'm getting a sense of other people and their experience listening to Paul, maybe why they would step away from him because one, and then you also got the voice factor. People just don't think his voice
Right.
is what it was as well. You know, did you get to see Paul live at all before the tour? You got to go backstage and whatever. Did you get to see
No, it was
Paul?
just that one time.
It was that one
Yeah,
time. Okay,
2010.
2010. Okay. So let's talk about that for a second. Going to see Paul live, and what were your? I mean, obviously I'm sure you got Wings Over America. You know how good he can sound live.
Yeah,
And 2010, I think he still sounded okay.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. He played for 3 hours straight,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize it at the time, but somebody else that went to the concert said he never even took a drink.
Yeah.
Nope.
No. No, he finally did now. Takes
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Takes one.
One.
He's losing it. It's his age.
Right. So
But
2010. Go ahead.
that festival he just played, he really showed
Glastonbury.
a lot of people.
Yeah.
He's still got it.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean,
Is there anywhere to see that whole concert?
for us in the States, I don't think so.
No, you have to be in
Um,
the UK to have a license
right.
with the BBC to watch and stream that.
Yeah, which is a damn shame. But yeah, I saw a couple clips and it was really amazing. I mean, if this is it, he went out on top and he really showed a lot of people that he can still put on a great show at 80 years old.
Do you think he's done, Larry, playing live?
I don't think so. I think it's in him to play live, right? So he's not going to
Right.
just, I'm done.
I'm done.
And it wasn't, I'm not a big fan of the Foo Fighters, but it was really nice to see Dave Grohl on stage because,
Yeah.
Before the death of the drummer,
Right.
you'd see him everywhere, and it got to be kind of, okay, Dave.
Overexposure.
Yeah, like it was like you got sick of him. But I was starting to actually miss seeing him, right? And it was so good. It was really good to see him.
Yeah, I think that was his first public appearance
Yeah.
before or since death of his Hawkins, which was said 2010. That is you're back into McCartney now again at this point in time.
Yeah.
What'd you think of his vocals for that show?
I remember them being great. Yeah.
Mm.
Love the whole concert.
And that was the only time you got to see him live?
Yeah.
Okay. Going backstage was probably pretty exciting, meeting band members.
Actually, I was thinking then that I would be meeting Paul McCartney, but he was with Michael Bublé in his own dressing room, right? So it was a tad disappointing, but the band was great. The drummer especially was
Abe.
super nice.
Oh,
And,
that's awesome.
Yeah, and I was 9 rows back, center stage.
Wow.
So, and I never thought I would see him in concert, so I was happy.
Oh, wow. Exactly. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Were you like a lot of the hardcore fans where you wish you would do more solo stuff than Beatles stuff, or were you happy
No,
with
I didn't care.
the mix? You didn't care?
No.
Okay.
My
Yeah.
first
Because
time, you really didn't care, right?
No,
First time
no.
seeing him live. Yeah.
And he did Mull of Kintyre with
Kintyre.
Ah.
Okay.
the pipe
Yeah.
guys
Yeah.
coming out. Yeah.
Bagpipes. Yeah.
So
All
cool.
right.
So
Lucky
cool.
guy.
I know. I know.
Now,
listen.
so before I forget, getting back to the Does This Album Suck series that I did.
Right. Yeah.
I listened to Press to Play for the first time, doing the video. You know, I sped it up. I didn't play the music. And at the end of it, I said that I forget what I said, but I said it sucked, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then a few months later, I'm doing the series, ranking all of his albums. So I had to listen to it again, right?
Right.
And I changed my mind. I haven't played it since, but I enjoyed it. I liked it. And one comment, I left it here, losing credibility.
Mm.
Oh, and I wrote back, and that got 6 thumbs up. And I wrote back, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you get some credibility soon. And I got like 40 thumbs up. But it shows you, right? You listen to the album the first time, you don't like it. It doesn't mean you won't like it the second time. You know?
Right. Did you embrace that, that 80s part of music, the Human League, the Spandau Ballet type of stuff that I think he was going, the big 80, the big drum sound, like maybe Genesis.
Gated, all that big kind of gated drum sound.
I like the Cars and some
Right.
Pretenders.
Right. Because I think he was going for a certain sound for that album that maybe just a lot of fans just didn't embrace at that point in time.
Yeah, I really don't want to listen to it again until hopefully it's remastered.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally get that.
Yeah, which I'm sure it will.
But the fact is, you went back, you listened to it, you gave it another chance, and which was kind of like which is all you really can. That's the whole point of our another listen on the other show, Talk More Talk, that I do. Is just to go back and see
and admit you were wrong. Like, you were wrong. That was your
right
thought at the time.
Right, exactly. Kind of like how Lennon would change his mind all the time. It's just
always you just flip flop.
But you go back, you listen to it, and you decide, you think, okay, well, maybe these songs aren't anywhere near as bad. Like, with me, with Off the Ground, I
love that album. That's another one I thought it's more your typical McCartney, but I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, there's some songs that have really started to grow on me. Hope of Deliverance is one of those songs. Was never a big fan of that. Get Out of My Way was a good, decent rocker, but I just didn't think it was, anything special.
Yeah, I know. I think both of you don't care for it. How's it pronounced? Kreena Corey from.
No, Tom loves that.
Huge fan.
Huge fan.
He loves it. I don't.
Yeah, huge fan of that. Again, he's just.
Andy, go back and listen to it.
I know the song inside and out, and I have to kind of just switch off.
Right.
It's okay. I won't skip it if I'm playing McCartney. I just
right.
Okay, I'll listen to it again.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it, because even our buddy Joe, what was he calling Driving Rain Thriving Pain?
Yeah.
All those years, and
and he's come around to it a bit.
Oh yeah, he's come around. I mean, he still admits it's not one of his best. Yeah, there you go, one of his best records, but it's still it's still a little better than what he remembered.
For me, the biggest issue with it is it's too long. I'll start buying I'm buying the second half of Elvis Costello's discography.
Right.
And I'll put in a CD and it'll be like over 60 minutes. It's like,
right.
No, 40 minutes is good. Unless it's if it's meant to be a double album, then
fine. But if not,
it's just too many songs.
Too many songs on Driving
But
Rain.
That's at that era, 99, 2000, a little after 2000. The album sales are dwindling. CD sales are rising, and you've got so much more. When you got double the room,
because the
pretty
CD
much.
is the premier format at this time.
Right. So
So
you
with,
you
you know,
want to fill that
you want to fill a
space.
CD, but you don't necessarily have to do that. And Driving Rain is one of those cases where he did.
And let me defend Driving Rain, the song.
Yes.
Everybody,
Okay.
mocks about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but Paul's done that before with like Hello,
Oh, yeah.
Goodbye, and
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
what's wrong
All
with
Together Now?
once in a while?
Well,
Everything
see,
Right.
that's
to be
right. That's the
look
Beatle
at John,
factor.
right?
Right.
With
It's
the
the
love, the love song,
right.
and everything.
Yeah. It's the Beatle factor. If any of those songs were Beatle songs,
Yeah.
they would be highly regarded today.
Oh,
Like,
right.
you know what
They
I
would,
mean?
but Driving Rain is, on its own on
I
on
like
the album.
I
It's
think the
very
song is great.
Right.
Yeah, I
So
got to
the
see him do it live.
Hmm.
But yeah, if it was a Beatles song, it would be like up there with Hello Goodbye because of how it is, because of the lyrical
People
nature
think
of it.
they'd probably call it a little cheesy, but it would still be very very loved, a very loved
Yeah.
song.
Yeah.
In the same vein as maybe Hello Goodbye or All
Yeah.
Together Now.
That would be the word for why I kind of stopped listening to Paul, is cheesy. It was
Cheesy.
just getting too cheesy for me.
Okay,
Right.
maybe a little too produced or whatever. But again, no, I mean, coming out with great stuff. I mean, No More Lonely Nights, I
Yeah.
think is one of his very good, one of his great songs. I mean, it might not be on the one of his best albums, but
Look at silly love songs. Back
right.
then, it was, for me, it was like a cheesy. It was good. It was catchy, but it was cheesy for me.
Mhm.
And looking back on it, I see the reason behind him writing it. It's like, what's wrong with a love song? And
Right.
it's a great song.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Driving Rain, one of the albums that a lot of people like to shit on, in a way. You are a defender of that album. What's some of your favorite tracks on that album?
Well, for one thing, I don't understand how anybody can't like a song like Tiny Bubble.
Hmm.
Because it's catchy, right?
It is. Yeah.
I would say Lonely Road, From a Lover to a Friend. It took me a while to get into that. Driving Rain, Tiny Bubble, Magic. It's the second half that I need to listen to more. But Rinse the Raindrops, when he stretches out, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really enjoy Rinse the Raindrops. Riding to Jaipur is another,
Riding to
track I like.
Jaipur is one worth another listen to, Larry.
Yeah.
Because I dismissed a lot of that material too, and it's still not my favorite. But Riding to Jaipur is a good track.
Yeah, I think you're onto something though. I think it's the second half that might be the weakest. And plus,
spinning on an axis, like, ugh. That
and for me, when this came out, there was actually one song that kind of reminded me of the cheesy 80s, and it was See Your Sunshine, which isn't still one of my favorites. But I mean, the rest of it, Ever Present Past, it sounded fresh. It sounded like it wasn't forced. It wasn't trying to be. It sounded natural for him to do that. And then a song like House of Wax is just so amazing. It's so underrated.
Terrific song.
The vocals, the lyrics.
Yeah. He's really been able to find a nice, happy medium with current and retro sounds. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think a lot of his music today just has a really nice blend of more modern music, mixed in with some some of the classic stuff that we know and love about Paul's music.
Yeah.
Just, with my ears anyways.
He is the greatest artist of them all.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. And that was even taking a break and leaving him for a couple decades and then going back
years
and coming back. Wow. So that's pretty, you made the journey back, Larry.
Yeah. And I guess
I gave him a little break.
Right. And I'm curious, the people that listening, if you guys took a little break from Paul, what was the album that you discovered that drove you to go back and listen to those past albums? Leave in the comments and let us know. if you took a break, what album you discovered made you a fan again, and just give us an idea.
It's
But
it,
Andy,
it's like, what's the break, right? Because I mean, like, we all take
right,
breaks from music, right? Like,
right,
there'll be times where I don't listen to Paul's music for maybe a few weeks or a month, depending on what I'm into. Like, that's, Larry took a longer break of 20 plus years. I don't think I'll ever be able to do that in my lifetime. But like, Tom, I'm sure you take breaks for, like, you don't
yeah.
listen to Paul every single,
not every not every day,
right?
but again, but doing this show, I'm
You
always
have to,
thinking. You
right?
have to. You're thinking of his music every day. You
Right,
know,
but because of what you do, they end up actually just taking maybe more of a break than you want to, because you know that you always have
right,
to listen to Paul stuff for your
right,
research for the show, which we do.
yeah,
But
yeah,
um, again, we talked about it at the top of the show. I think breaks naturally just happen, given when you're such a collector of music. It's going to happen. You're going to take breaks
Yeah.
because you have so much to music to get through and enjoy, and it's only natural, I think, to
right.
have breaks of whether that's a few months or a few years.
hmm And it's just not Paul's music. I mean, I think for everybody. I mean, I think Larry, you said you took a break from Elvis Costello too.
Yeah.
Was it? I mean, that can go for any artist again that has such a long, long history. Um, you don't love every single period. I mean, listen, Elton John's had one of the greatest careers in modern music history, but again, not every period
Right,
of his career was top notch.
Yeah.
right. Well,
So
unless you're a diehard, but yeah,
well,
but there.
well, even diehards though. But go ahead,
Yeah, but
Yeah,
Andy.
and
there's
speaking of Elton John, I bought his his debut album just
Yeah.
recently. It is. I only listened to
Oh,
it once. It's awesome.
it's
empty
gold.
empty sky, or the
No, the one
self-titled
before that. That was never released.
empty
Oh,
sky.
Sergeant Zippo's.
Yeah,
Oh, you're
Sgt.
talking about
Yeah,
the one,
Pepper.
oh, that one from
Reginald.
68,
Yeah,
Reginald
right.
Zippo. Yeah, yeah.
Reginald Zippo. Yeah,
Really good.
fantastic. How that was never released. Um, yeah, because I just got it on CD as well, but I did buy the record store day
Yeah.
record a year or two back ago, and yeah, wow. Really, really good stuff there. And he was working. I didn't realize he was working with Bernie Taupin that early. I thought that
Yeah.
came a little later. So, but he wrote, I guess, all the lyrics for that as well. So, but yeah, so I'm glad that's out for people to listen to, and you can decide whether or not you think it's worthy.
Did fans know about that album before? You know?
Um, you would have to ask see, I consider myself like a casual and hardcore fan, like right on the edge there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really starting to get by his like 80s and 90s stuff now. So I'm
I
kind
think
of like,
I think the hardcore fans knew that
and
material was
new.
always out
Yeah,
there,
exactly.
because
Because I think
it's some of it has sneaked
some of
out
it, right. And I
over the
think a
years.
song or two might be on that To Be Continued box set.
Come Back
Yeah,
Baby from 67 came out
right.
initially. That was always, so that material was always kind of known. And I consider myself kind of, not quite hardcore, but just underneath hardcore for Elton
Right.
John. I mean, I've really begun to like a lot of his 80s music as well. So,
Mhm.
and his 90s stuff. But I think, yeah, that Regimental Sergeant Zippo is a gem.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm looking forward to seeing them live in November, and just can't wait. Can't wait. But going back, Larry, so was there an album besides Memory Almost Full? So between Tug of War and Memory Almost Full, besides, what was there an album that you were like, I just really can't believe, I missed this one, you know?
Well, it'd be Chaos and Creation
Okay.
because when it came out, it was getting really good reviews, and I would be interested in it, but I wouldn't bother checking it out, right? And then
Right.
after Memory Almost Full, I went back and I bought that, and became, I think, one of his greatest albums.
hmm
And then
Yeah.
Flaming Pie is another one that's really good. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately that's the last one with Linda on it. Did you ever have you get go did you say something?
No.
Oh, okay. Have you checked out any of his classical work?
No.
No interest?
Uh, I have nothing against classical music, so you never know. I buy
Right.
something by him. Yeah.
Right. And then what about Fireman? Did you?
I have the electric argument.
Oh, at
No
least we
play
got
very much,
that.
but I like it. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, the weird thing is, even though it's Fireman, people tend to put that in the main canon because he's got
The
vocals on it.
vocals on it,
You know?
which
Yeah.
that's up for debate, but
I'd like to buy the other two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this whole period of McCartney, I mean, you said he's your favorite artist of all time, right?
Yeah.
Even though you felt like you had the his stuff wasn't up to snuff for a long time. I find that I'm not criticizing you or anything like that. I just kind of still find it weird that you took such this long break
Yeah.
of 24 years
Yeah.
and then
I still remember, going to the record store back in the day and seeing his new like press to play, right? The cover.
right.
And I
Right.
looked at the cover and I was like,
Right.
I just no. I'm not interested in that.
wow. Whereas we would be like, we want the album, and we also have that in-store display too. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's-
but even like today, I don't know about you guys, but I don't have the same excitement when a new album is coming out. For instance, Porcupine Tree. I'm a big fan of theirs, and Stephen
band.
Wilson especially.
Yeah.
They have their new album. I haven't bought. I'm gonna buy it, but it's not like I'm running to the store to buy it. It's like I'll hear it when I hear it.
That's another interesting thing as well.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's funny because my wife is a huge she loves REO Speedwagon. Okay, and when early on in our dating, while we were dating, knowing that she loved the REO Speedwagon, I think they put out a new album right around maybe 2006 or 7 or 8, right around that time. I remember getting it for her, and she just like totally ignored it, and it just baffles my mind in a way where you're supposedly such a big fan of this band,
Yeah.
okay, and they put something out and you want nothing to do with it. And then like if they play a song from that album, if you go see them live, I mean people, can't get to the bathroom or the beer line fast enough,
Burnout, it could be burnout thing, burnout factor, you just may not like it, you may just not like the record. I mean, Yes has put out 2 new albums, 2 studio albums in the last couple of years. I haven't listened to one note of those records.
I have no interest in them.
None.
Jon Anderson. I mean, the Drama album without him was great.
That's fine. That's great. But the Quest, get out of here.
I usually try and be positive on my channel, but recently I did a reaction to Yes playing on their tour this year. And at least and I understand, it's recorded on a phone. I get that. But you can still get if it's a good performance or not. But for me, it was a bad performance. And Steve Howe, Mr. Grumpy Pants, he's complaining, like motioning about the lights and everything.
I call him Gollum.
And he's probably my favorite guitarist.
He's up absolutely, but he's such a contrarian now.
Yeah.
He's a crab ass.
Yeah.
I mean, you have that. So you have that too, in a way, Larry, where you're a big band, you're a big fan of these bands that you've listened to for decades. But then if they put something out, put something new out, you're just not interested.
Yeah, I think the last time I was super excited about a band was when U2 used to be a fan of U2. But the reason for instance, the Pop album I wasn't a big fan of. That was a disappointment. And but it was the Apple thing that really bugged me when they put their album on everybody's phone. That just
they have
turned me off
when they put how to dismantle an atomic bomb. Yeah.
But I still respect them as a band. I love their earlier stuff. I'm still not gonna say, oh, U2 sucks, because they don't, right?
Right. No, yeah, it is kind of interesting the way people, follow bands and then their level of fandom, with these bands and, you know, do they buy current stuff or not? They still go see these bands live, but then yet they won't, buy new stuff, which means, these acts they're out, farther more years in between new albums because, these so-called, fans that keep coming to their shows, don't have any interest in new material.
They just
It's
care
really
about the
interesting.
hits. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. Is this like when did we become these concert going snobs that we can't appreciate, the band we love and we're going to see, we can't appreciate when they play new material.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's kind of frustrating in a way because I'm one of those people that, want to hear something new. If they're touring a new album, I want to hear a few of those tracks.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just so many different I guess we're all weird when it comes to our favorite acts,
Yeah.
but Andy, I mean, he didn't play anything new. I mean, he does. John, when you go see, I mean, he doesn't have any. He's not pushing anything new, right?
Well, he did when I saw him a couple summers ago. He played like a lot of
Okay.
his new album, A Thousand Hands,
Okay.
and that was good. And that was really good.
Right. And Steve Hackett, I think when we saw him live, I mean, he was
He
playing
played
some.
he played one or two
Yeah.
tracks. He always does. I mean,
Right.
he'll play. They're never gonna be set lists that are gonna be full of the new material. You're
Oh
gonna get
no, I
you're
get
gonna get
that.
a couple of new tracks, but the fact that they do play new material is a good thing. And in Anderson's
Right.
case, that Thousand Hands show, he played
Right.
almost that whole album, a good
Right.
portion of that album anyway.
But I think most of the fans that go to see him, his solo career doesn't really have hits, right?
No,
They're there to listen to whatever he's going to sing.
right.
Right.
Of course they're going to want, Roundabout or whatever, but I think an artist like him is so respected that they'll listen to whatever he's going to sing.
Right. All of the music that he did with Vangelis and stuff like that. So
Yeah, unless you're like Bob Dylan or Neil Young, who really don't care. They're
They-
just gonna
I
go up there and
remember
play.
I saw Neil Young with my son about 10 years ago in Kingston, Ontario. And I remember and it was a great concert, but at one point in the concert, he was doing about 15 minutes of guitar feedback.
Right. Yeah.
It's Neil Young, so he does whatever he wants to do.
I love
right?
that about those artists, that they're just like, hey, this is what I'm gonna play.
Good for
And
him. And then
Right.
after the concert, I remember hearing this other couple saying, "Well, that was disappointing." Right?
Yeah.
Because he didn't, he played a couple, Old Man, he played a couple of
Right.
hits, but he basically just played whatever he wanted to play. And so it's, I feel like saying to that couple, you really don't know Neil Young, do you?
no.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
And they
Right.
shouldn't really be going to concerts then. They should
No.
just sit on their deck and put on a Neil
Yeah.
Young playlist, and that can call it a day.
Put
you're
on his
not-
greatest hits and
That's
call it a
it.
day. Yeah.
That's it.
Because again, I mean, here's Neil Young is not filled with greatest hits material. I mean, he's
No.
not, a pop single heavy kind
No.
of
Album.
artist.
He's an album artist.
He's an album guy. Right, exactly.
You're gonna put Harvest on and listen to Harvest all the way through.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he'll have one or two albums where you're going to know quite a few songs off of, but it's not going to be this long career that you're going to know at least one or two songs off of every album because you're really not when it comes to, and even parts of Dylan's career, you're not going to,
Sure.
those casual fans aren't going to know anything new. So they're going and they're going to hope they hear
they're gonna
blowing in the wind or
And you're not gonna.
You're not going to hear that.
You're not
But,
gonna
but
hear
even
that.
if he does play something familiar, he rearranges it so you don't even know.
You don't even know. You don't even recognize the arrangement of it. He did
Right.
that when I saw him in November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But good for him. Like,
Yeah.
he's, I respect him a lot. He's
Yeah.
awesome. And I think those like the Frank Sinatra type albums he was doing,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
his voice sounded great.
His voice is still his voice. When I saw him in November in New York, his voice was phenomenal.
Yeah.
The time off did him well, I thought. And again, he played most of his new album, Rough and Rowdy Ways, at that
Right.
show, which was incredible. Because I love the album.
Yeah. Again, I mean, that's what I appreciate that about artists that will, stick to their guns and do new stuff. I mean, a lot of look, we when I was in the catering, catering the concerts, we catered a bunch of his shows out here in Arizona, and I would check out the set list because I always wanted to kind of go, but I never did.
Right.
So I check out the set list and I would like, because I'm not a hardcore Dylan fan, I haven't really checked out a lot of his new stuff, and a lot of the show is new stuff,
Yep.
which is I think is commendable.
Something that listen, we know Paul doesn't do, and that's bringing it back to Paul, but that's just it's not what he's going to do. Although he might, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyways, but again, if you're listening to the show and you left Paul for a while, talk about it. I mean, write down in the comments, why did you leave Paul? Why did you feel like did you have other interests? Let us know your story.
You can also tell us if you never left him too. That's fine too.
Absolutely.
I'm a real fan. I never left him.
I'm a real fan. Yeah. What? You're gonna and it's funny because you'll have comments like those too sometimes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm sure you've experienced comments like that.
Yes,
too.
I've been through it all, and
yes,
that's the one thing I don't like about comments is people want to argue. It's like I don't want to argue about music.
Right.
Subjective.
Yeah.
See, I see it this way: is okay. This show is more positive than negative, and I want to, keep it that way. Yeah, we're going to criticize.
Yeah.
But we're going to do it not mean. We're going to be more, in a positive manner. Say,
constructive criticism.
Yeah. Right. We might not like this particular track, but you might like it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
If I did say a top 10 Led Zeppelin songs of mine,
right,
and I didn't include Stairway to Heaven, somebody would say, "Where's Stairway to Heaven?"
Exactly.
I'd say, "It's not in my list.
It's not on your list."
and more, and those might be young Led Zeppelin fans, and or the casual Zeppelin fans
who haven't really dived into the whole thing, and they don't know the whole catalog.
And they've just been conditioned from the radio because that's going to be one of 3 songs that they're going to play.
And that's it. Unless you have satellite radio, terrestrial radio is just owned by conglomerate people that cycle the same 300 songs or less these days.
And I did want to mention that I did order that Ram album because I heard it on Spotify.
What's the Ram On? Ram On.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
I'll do a review for it.
Yeah, please do, because we had Fernando and Denny on.
I watched.
When it first came out, and then we had them on again recently because they're doing that whole album live here. They had to postpone the show, but I think they moved it to August 2nd. I had to double check. But in California at the Troubadour.
Yeah.
And if you're in that area, please go check that. I'll check that show out. And it's close to selling out. They said if they did a sellout, that
it would be streamed.
a streaming option. So we would hopefully be able to do that. And I can't wait to see your review on that when it happens.
You'll enjoy that. You'll enjoy that, Larry. I think you will.
Yeah, I pre-ordered the album as well. So, but let's talk about your YouTube channel a little bit. We'll talk about what's coming up, and all your different shows, and I want to ask you about just like the creative process for you. When you know something works, when you know something doesn't work. I mean, you kind of like a sense of it when you're creating these episodes. When you think something's going to work or not.
I never know. Even being on YouTube for 16 years, there's videos I'll do and I'll post it, not thinking it's going to be received well, and then it will do really well, right?
Right.
And then there might be another video I do. Oh, this is a good one. This is going to get millions of views, and it just dies.
Yeah.
So, but the main thing is, of course, I like what somebody said once. You just did this video for the views. It's like, yes, I did. I would like people to watch it.
Right. No, and we're same way too. It's just like,
Yeah,
we'll have somebody on that
yeah,
actually recorded with Paul,
yeah,
okay? And we're going, okay, people are gonna,
yeah,
this will be our one of our most viewed shows, right?
And
yeah.
it's the dud.
And it's a dud. But then
And
yet
it,
our ranking, the tracks, shows will do thousands,
well, I have, I think, over 43,000 subscribers. I don't have 43,000 people watching a video when I post it because
Right,
this is YouTube, right?
right.
And it's just the way, I've subscribed to channels and then I look back later and I'm not subscribed to them because YouTube messes with it. And
Oh,
I've had people write to me, I thought I was subscribed to your channel. It's like,
Mhm.
well, you probably were.
Right.
But
but the Google gods said that you
yeah, it's
weren't
all,
interacting enough, so they
yeah.
unsubscribed you.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if your video's good or bad. It's out of everybody's hands.
Oh yeah. I mean, I get that. I
I,
get
I've,
that,
I've
but
done videos that weren't very good, and
mhm.
I've gotten great feedback from them because you never know really what the viewers want.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've done a show or two where I just feel like I'm going through the
Yeah,
motions, and that'll be one of our most commented show, or our most one of our most liked shows.
yeah.
It's really excuse me, it's really weird. What people consider a good show.
But
Or
I
not.
still every day, I'm thinking of new ideas and I get excited.
Right.
I still
Yeah.
have that creative thing. So
Right. No, and that's important too, because exactly. I mean, Andy and I were always trying to, come up with new ideas for the show, and try to, make our fans excited about the show as well.
but just remember, no matter what, there's people out there that post videos, they don't get any views or any
Oh yeah.
comments. So you guys are doing good.
Thanks, Larry.
Unless you don't get any comments.
No, we're a little small. We've been
But
on
this
YouTube.
video is going to be the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever, man.
We've been on YouTube since
Well,
what,
we won't have this
2009,
one again.
2019? We've been on YouTube
Yeah,
since, John?
2019.
Coming
Yeah.
up on 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So,
Something like that. Yeah.
we're
And that's again. I mean, I know, and I'm thankful for that too, because we're getting to meet all the a bunch of other YouTubers that had the same interest as us, whether it's Paul or Beatles related or other
right, but
music related.
we're so centric, Paul centric. So it's a
Yeah.
niche.
Right.
We're not talking about Beatle releases or Lennon stuff. We're just talking about Paul. So, we're happy with the growth of the channel. It's just
Yeah.
cool to interact with people that have been doing it way longer than us.
Mhm. Yeah. So what else you got coming up on your channel? Anything new?
The next
Anyone?
thing I'm doing is I've got this series called Bad Grammar. And well, what happened a few, a long time ago, I was getting these nasty comments, right? Like
Right.
most people get. And at first it used to hurt me and it would affect me. But I decided I'm going to turn a negative into a positive. I would read the comments and do a comedic response to it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm on, I think it's Bad Grammar 59 now. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've got like 50 comments to read. Most, there's some, I always, read some good comments. So, for my ego. But no, a lot of them are, nasty. And I just respond to them in these videos.
No, and I guess you're doing the right thing. I mean,
Yeah.
we're all going to get negative
Yeah.
feedback from time
Yeah.
to time, and then spinning it into a positive rather than just
Mhm.
letting it continue to get you
Yeah.
down.
And then,
Um,
a lot of these people I will block, or
Right.
sometimes though, when I just respond to them with a jokey thing, they never come back.
Right. Yeah.
Or,
I mean,
or, I
that's
just, or I just respond with thanks, have a great day.
right,
How
and
can
you
you
just show
respond back to
them.
that?
Right, you show them that their comment is not going to
Yeah.
ruin your day
No,
whatsoever, and
no,
then sometimes they tend to go away.
yeah.
Anything with Spinal Tap coming up there? Because I noticed your shirt there.
No.
Huge Spinal Tap fan. I
Yeah,
heard they're
and
going to
there's a
do
new
something new.
movie coming out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love
That's good.
Christopher Guest. Like he's maybe
Fantastic.
my favorite Canadian, along with Martin Short.
Mm, yeah. Well, yeah, I did like those early those some of those Saturday Night Live skits he did
Yeah,
with Billy Crystal.
yeah, and
I
Waiting
think
for Guffman, the movie.
yeah. Oh, Waiting for Guffman is great. Best in Show is
Best
my favorite.
show.
Is my
Yeah,
favorite of all of those. But Larry, thank you very much for coming on and talking about your experience with Paul and leaving, coming back, and
yeah,
rediscovering his music because there is a lot of that out there. And again, I want to hear everybody's stories out there. So
Yeah,
don't be
there is.
shy.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
always a tale to be told in the McCartney fandom. Either you're in all in or
yeah.
wherever you've been back and forth again. So let us
It could have
know.
been, yeah, it could have been the frog song that made you leave, you know?
Yeah.
It could have been Mary Had a Little Lamb that could have made you leave, early, real early. But Andy, what you got going on, my friend?
Not much, just hanging and just doing our weekly. I might do another episode in the next week or two for my other channel, Andy's Music Vault, where I dive into another artist. I haven't decided who it's going to be yet. It might be Genesis. I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking it's probably going to be Genesis.
Yeah,
I just
cool.
did Yes a few weeks ago, so I think we'll continue the prog train here and do Genesis, having freshly seen Genesis in December.
Mm,
With at the Madison Square Garden, and then we saw Hackett just a few months later. So
right.
I'll probably do a video on Genesis in the next couple of weeks on my own channel, Andy's Music Vault, the other leg.
Mm,
Steve
very good.
Hackett has to be one of the most respected musicians in music, and he was such a big part of.
Consummate professional. I've emailed him.
And-
He emails me back.
Yeah.
Like such a gentleman, down to earth guy.
I don't know if you guys know Arthur Brown. He had a big hit in the '60s.
The Crazy World of Arthur Brown.
Yeah.
I saw him do that song.
Yeah, he's 80 years old now. He has a new album out, and I thought it would be at least good. He sounds as good as ever, and
Mm,
he has a Facebook page. I've written to him. He responded to my review I didn't do the review yet, but I mentioned that, and he responds back like, yeah, some of
Yeah.
as long as you respect them, they're not going to become your friends.
Right, right.
Like give them respect and
right.
Yeah, but Hackett is. I've
Yeah.
met him a few times.
Yeah,
He's
that's cool.
he's just a consummate professional
Yeah.
and respected across the board. And
Yeah.
I really love that he's carrying on that early Genesis legacy.
And I heard, I think his second last album, and it was so good. The Siren one.
The Night Siren.
The Night Siren.
That was fantastic.
And I didn't know he sang.
Yeah, he's been
was a good
singing.
singer.
He's been singing a lot more on his own solo records, but he puts out music at such a prolific. He puts out like an album out a year almost. So
Yeah, I was really blown away by the energy in the crowd. Because I had never seen Hackett live before.
Yeah.
And here he is, he spent such a short period of time in that band,
Yeah.
and he's able to, and then plus, his solo career as
Yeah.
well. And
Which
he's
is-
able to continue to sell out, theaters or whatnot, and do those songs and carry on like that.
And
I was really blown away.
a dive into his solo career is something you should continue to do there, Tom, because out of all the solo members, the solo careers out of Genesis, and Gabriel was huge, Phil, of course, was huge. Hackett's my favorite. Hackett's solo material is absolutely out of this world, criminally underrated.
You should get him on a show. Maybe not the too late.
We talked about it.
We have actually. We've talked about it.
I was thinking of reaching out to some, when the Lennon thing was given to me by Sean Lennon or whatever.
Yeah.
It was through, manager or whatever, but I could write to him to see about getting Sean Lennon on at some point. Maybe with you guys. Like, there's no harm in trying, right? I mean, you guys have gotten like.
Oh yeah.
On.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of
the way I look at it. They're just regular people like us.
Yeah, sure. you know, sometimes they'll respond, sometimes they don't. I mean, and
Yeah.
it's funny who the people that don't respond are the ones you think would respond.
Right, and
Yeah.
vice
You know,
versa, and
yeah,
vice
like
versa.
the Stanley Clarks, the Steve Gadds, you know, the ones that the ones that had the smaller role.
Yeah.
You know, I tried to get a hold of them,
Yeah.
and they never
Nothing.
respond.
Denny
Nothing.
Sywell, sure, I'll come on.
Sure.
Lawrence
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuber, sure, I'll come on.
Right. You know, and even like Khan, the producer of Driving Rain, you
Yeah.
know, he even responded. I asked him, hey, you want to come on and talk about your work with McCartney? He even responded, well, you know, I'm in a good spot with McCartney right now, and I just rather not. You know, but he responded, you know, and that's the thing is, and there's a kind of a trick to that too. And like you said, you know, you don't, you know, you want to talk positive, you know, about the music while you're, you know, emailing them or contacting them,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, give them a little, you know, not necessarily kiss their ass, but maybe
Yeah.
give them a little peck on the cheek, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you know, and it's nice when they respond, you know, it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
you know, so. But yeah, so for us, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Two Legs Podcast. Our YouTube channel, Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast. Please check us out and subscribe. We're on all the audio formats. What do we got? Spotify, Andy, right?
Everything. Everything.
iHeartRadio, you know, all of that stuff that that Andy does for us. He's gotten us on everything for the most part. So if you only listen to us audio, please check us out on the YouTube channel and subscribe, and you get to see our lovely faces and our smile, you know, all of our wonderful smiles and all that stuff. So check us out there. Emails at twolegspodcast@gmail.com. And there's more to come. Definitely, we're gonna have some more things we bought to yesterday and today videos, and well, we're going to continue to be live here for a few more weeks. Andy's going to be going to the Chicago Fest for Beatles fan, and he'll have a review on that. We'll probably go live a little bit while he's
Yep.
there, so that should be interesting. So plenty more to come up
This
on the
summer.
show.
Yeah, this summer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
filled with activity for us.
There you go. There you go. So everybody out there, thank you very much. Thank you, Larry, the Canadian Stud
Thank
Muffin.
you.
Thank you, Andy.
And Andy,
And everybody out there, as always, have a great day and a beautiful night. Take care.
bye-bye.